Happy New Year, listeners! And what a mighty year it's gonna be. Happy New Year, Ben.
Hi, same to you, mate.
Dude, I am so pumped for Hobby right now. It is ridiculous. I'm not joking. This morning I got up at 6 o'clock and set up the podcast recording booth before I went to work. I was that excited.
Really? So, I got woken up this morning being slapped in the face by Lady Corn, so...
Excellent, just the way you should wake up. So, listeners, thank you for joining us in 2018. We've got lots to talk about. So, as ever, straight into the hobby desk, we'll be talking about me completing some corn units. Hurrah! Ben completing some crazy skeletons, which is a little bit evil, so that's nice. That's a step forward for him. We've both played some games. I've managed to play some AOS and some 40k. There's even a victory in there, which will shock people, but we'll talk about that in a bit. Galaxy of War, the Custodians are upon us, and then there's also a real army in the form of the Thousand Suns, and the Daemons are here, so a joyous time into the mortal realms, and it's more joy in the form of Nurgle. So that's great. You can start to see why I'm excited. Malign Portents as well. We'll be chatting about that. We've got a bit of a shout out in the community today to the pro painted guys. Been listening to them, picking up some bits off them. And then finally into the wild. So I want to talk about building trains. Strange. And Ben is going to talk a bit about Hellboy. So as ever, grab your refreshments. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to 2018.
Hi guys, and welcome to the Hobby Desk. So we've been a few weeks since we last did our podcast, so we've got a whole ton of stuff to talk about. Fortunately, it sounds like the world is falling down around the shed, so if you hear some banging and clattering, that's probably because the wind is trying to blow my shed over.
What is that? That is not immersive, is it? What are you talking about? That noise is clearly the sound of re-entry of the drop pod.
Well, yes, it could quite be.
Isn't it?
Either that or the Gellerfield is failing.
Yeah, it could be that.
So I'm ready. I have an axe within arm's reach. So Dan has, I hope everyone's sat down for this, but Dan has painted a model. Not just put paint on a model, but actually finished painting a model. Not just one either.
4.
But 4. 4 models. I think that deserves a round of applause for Dan, I think.
Oh, thanks, man. That is so nice of you.
Well, tell us about them. Come on. Because I'm dead excited that you're painting again, even if you're not.
I am excited. I'm loving it. So, what have I done? So, I have finally finished my Forge Fiends that I went back and looked at, and I think I first posted about them on Facebook on the 3rd of September. So that is embarrassing.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
I don't really know quite what happened there, but yeah, that was a long time. So they are done. I don't know if I've mentioned it, but basically I'm jazzing up my corn. I'm going to be adding blood for the blood god and snow and little flowers and stuff just to lift it all. But
what flowers?
Yeah, little purple flowers because they sort of contrast against the snow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just seems a bit random to have flowers on a corn army, but
I
can see where it can. No, it's a bit random.
They can appreciate a bit of beauty where it's important, like in that case.
In what way? I mean,
look, come on. Sometimes blood splatters in such a nice way.
Flowers.
Yeah. Have you not? Yeah, local florists are a bit weird up here. So anyway. I've not done that to those bases yet, basically because I'm currently painting. We're going to Warhammer World on the 19th for the Tenebrous campaign weekend, and I'm painting for that. So I don't want to have an army which is half based with snow and flowers and the other half isn't. So I'm going to keep it all off, and then I'll do it in one big session. So if I've got time before the event, I'll do it before the event. If I haven't, I'll do it afterwards.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So yeah, so there's that. And then
don't get me wrong. I quite like the idea of the flowers.
Yeah, I know you do.
It's quite a juxtaposition. I like it.
Well, yeah.
Especially if you had like blood across the flowers.
Now you're just being sick.
No, I'm not. And have trampled flowers. Do trampled flowers.
Oh my goodness, you and the effort. Goodness me. Just flowers.
Well, trampled flowers would work, wouldn't it? No, come on.
Right.
Put the effort in, Dan.
Let's move on. So, I then painted 2 characters up. It was originally going to be an Exalted Champion and a Dark Apostle, but now I think they're both going to be Exalted Champions because I want the rerolls to wound. I mean, because I feel that background-wise that fits really nicely. No, so the Exalted Champion gives you rerolls to wound, so I want that. So I painted them up in a day, which was cool. I managed to get a really rare day off where I got to sit down and just do some painting. So they got painted up, and then I bought 3 Hell Brutes, just because, why not? I was watching Tabletop Tactics actually, and they had a Tactica game, which is their games where they talk about how they actually go about making the decisions and stuff, and it had these guys in it, these Hell Brutes, and I think, I know that they'll be effective. So I played against some Mechanicum recently, and I lost, frustratingly, by turn 3. Something about turn 3 and me. But we were playing up the table.
I reckon you just give up.
I'm trying to think in fact, I don't have to try and remember what the point was. I am going to look in my Warhammer 40,000 battle journal. Hold on, listeners.
Days.
Hold on. And I'll just get my
You'd think he gets paid by Games Workshop.
I'll just get my Age of Sigmar one out as well while I'm there, because I played a game of that. So, in my battle journal, we played Race to Victory. Deployment map was the Spearhead Assault, which is down the table. Ben managed to blow up my Khitan engine on turn 2 because those robots are flipping filthy. It's just ridiculous. And yeah, we called it on turn 3 because the World Eater casualties. Oh yeah, that's right. Khan, being heroic, managed to fail a 6-inch charge, even though I used a command point to reroll one of the dice. And at that point, that was kind of it, really. So, but one of the things I found, because I just painted the 2 Forge Fiends and I had the Khitan engine, but the Forge Fiends are only really effective if you're able to use the Demon Forge stratagem, but you want to use the Demon Forge stratagem on the Khitan. So the Hell Brutes don't need the Demon Forge stratagem to be effective. In fact, I don't think they can even use it. So, that's why I want to replace the Forge Fiends with Hell Brutes. But trying to convert them, man. Oh, I know you were mocking me last night when I was talking to you about this, but the legs, it's just ridiculous. They're just...
Well, why bother? You can move the waist, you can move the head.
Well, because they're just, like, stood there. Like...
Dreadnoughts have been stood there for 30 years.
Yeah. Wow. Maybe.
It's only since they released the
don't say that now, because I've
Contemptor.
already hacked one apart and then realised that I don't actually have any real working knowledge of green stuff. So I'm going to have to learn. So that was really clever, that was.
So, forward plug, that's worth listening to the most recent Pro Painted podcast then.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am fully back on it, really. We've painted,
yeah.
I've really been cracking on. Hell Brutes, I've started building the Hell Brutes, so I've got until the 19th to get them done. So 3 Hell Brutes.
I can't believe how close that is.
2.5 weeks. Is it even 2.5? No, 2.
It's less than 2, mate.
It's less than 2. Oh, balls. Okay. Oh, excuse me. Maybe I might not get them done. I might get them built.
Well, you're not going to get them done if you spend, the picture you've posted is hilarious. You've just chopped that dude to pieces. It's not like you've just bent a leg or something. You've gone for it. So.
I know. Well, that's fine, because I can build the rest of it because I'm going to have to obviously fill that gap with green stuff first, up to a level, and let that dry, and then go in with a bit more green stuff and start trying to build up the muscle.
I'm not sure I would use green stuff to fill the large gap.
Oh, what would you use?
Probably use a less fine putty.
Oh, okay.
Maybe something like, the original Milliput or something like that.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'll do that then. But Either way.
Because it's just easier to squidge in there and,
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
So
I'm really excited. Sculpting is a really cool thing to learn, and I dabble. I dabble to fill in gaps in conversions or something, but I mean, I really would love to be able to develop the skills to a point where I could sculpt something from scratch. That would be amazing. Maybe a hobby goal for this year. We're going to talk about hobby resolutions or hobby goals for this year. I think sculpting a model would be quite a cool one. However bad it turned out to be.
I think that would be a cool one for you.
And you?
No, I can't be bothered, mate. There are
people... Yeah, you could do it. You could do a little demon.
I don't pay all this money to buy the best miniatures in the world because I want to sculpt models. That's just not... No. I just can't be bothered. You can do it. You can do it for me.
I find that a bit of a shame, Dan. I've got to be honest. I am slightly disappointed.
Everybody's hobby is different, isn't it? Sculpting just doesn't interest me at all.
That's fair enough.
Because I haven't got the patience. But then again, if you'd asked me sort of 5 years ago, painting didn't interest me because I didn't have the patience. And now I love painting. So give it a few years and I might be like, oh, I love sculpting. Who was that Muppet on that podcast? And what was he talking about? Not doing it.
So you've lost a game, but you won a game, didn't you? You won your Age of Sigmar game.
Oh, let me consult my battle journal.
Oh my Gideon.
Mate, they are gorgeous. So you can, when I'm at Warhammer World in a couple of weeks, filling mine out, you're going to be like, oh, why don't I have one, Dan? Like that. Just like that.
Just like that.
Just like that. So, yeah, I use my Stormcast Eternals, would you believe? No,
not really.
Dun.
That's why you won.
Shh. So, I played against Dan Mosley's Wanderers. And I wonder why. Anyway, enough singing. I killed him. Basically, by turn 3, I was 16 points ahead against none, and we called it there. To be honest, though, as much as I would love to say that it was my tactical ingenuity and skill that won me that game, it was ridiculous. So he didn't there was a number of charges that he failed. And then in the scenario is the one where the objectives come down from the heavens, which is called Star Strike. And they all came down and basically landed on my army. They don't do any damage, by the way. You just have to be near them.
Yeah.
So yeah, poor Dan. I felt really, really, really happy that I won. So yeah, I did win that. So that was good. And I've got gaming wise as part of my hobby resolution to do with playing a game every week.
Should we do the hobby resolutions together? Because then
we will. But I'm just talking at the moment. So
all right. God.
No, so I've got lined up, what am I doing? So next week, I've got an Age of Sigmar skirmish game. Well, probably 2 or 3, actually, because it's only a little, isn't it? With Colin and his Seraphon and Dan's Wanderers again on Wednesday. And then on Saturday, I've got a rematch against Ben's Mechanicum. And then the following Wednesday, I've got a game against Geraint, which is cool. He's the store manager in Cribs, and he's going to use, I think, his Tau or his Ultramarines. Both of those need a good crush in, to be honest, but we'll see. So a few games already booked in.
Excellent.
Did you want to say something, dude? I think I just filled the last 6 minutes.
6 minutes, 12 minutes, 59 seconds.
Oh, wow! Got to give the listeners something lovely to listen to before you start.
I'm kind of all out of steam now. I'm going to have to build myself up again.
Well, you've done those Sepulchral Guard, which seem to be storming the internet. People love them.
Yes. Oh, mate, they are such nice models. From the moment I put them together, they've been my favourite out of the Shadespire models. It's been really cool having all 4 gangs or warbands done. And I put them on my shelf yesterday and found that one of them was broken. I'm gonna blame Marcus for that. for no other reason than I think he deserves it.
You fixed him, though.
Sorry?
You fixed him, though.
Oh, mate, that pin. Oh, that was real edge of the seat stuff. Well, there's less than probably a quarter of a mil on either side of that pin. It's ridiculous. But it's mending models for kids in Games Workshop. You certainly learn how to pin a model, don't you?
Yeah.
Back when it was metal as well. But I love them. And I tried a few new things with them, like glowing eyes. It's not something I've done a great deal of. Because I wanted them to look magical. Not like Jason and the Argonaut skeletons, but more like there's an actual energy in them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. There's
a life of a sort keeping them animated. I think that worked quite well because I didn't want to overdo it. I didn't want to make it too bright. I wanted to make it just like a subtle glow. But I used a lot of dry brushing and didn't really highlight too much using like a layer or anything like that. And used typhus corrosion a lot. I love typhus corrosion.
I know you do. Might start.
The more I use it, the more I'm in love with it. It's just such a versatile, phenomenal paint, especially as like a finishing paint. Just add little touches here and there. If you wash metal with it and then wipe away all the excess, it looks so good. Love it.
I love those little tricks, so I'll give that a go. That would probably work quite well painting the Necromunda scenery from the box.
Well, the bases that I've done for your Goliath gang, I did that essentially. So I painted the base and then washed them in typhus corrosion and just wiped the excess away with my finger. And it looks like grime collecting in all the corners. I think you'd end up using quite a lot if you wanted to do that for all your Necromunda scenery, but that's what it would look amazing.
See if B&Q will mix it up.
Well, yeah. I'm really, really happy with that they're all done. I had a feeling to get all the models I'd painted for 2017 and get them out on a table, because it might be one of my most productive years yet, because I think I did the Rogue Trader Marines in 2017, didn't I?
You did?
So, yeah, I've got half a mind to do that.
Because I think you were doing those just in that period between when we'd started chatting hobby again, but hadn't started the podcast.
Yeah.
Which would have been the beginning of 2017.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I've started your Goliaths, and they're coming on nicely.
I've seen. They look very nice, thank you. A rocking Christmas present, that is.
Stunning, stunning models, mate. Really, really nice. Really, really nice. It did make me think as I was painting them, because I had an old Goliath hanging around. The amount of detail extra on models does slow things down a lot. It was so much easier 20 years ago. Yeah. But yeah, if only I'd kept up with the painting back then. Or indeed learned to paint. So my game this week was yesterday against Ross at the Bobbin Club, and it was my Iron Snakes. And as you know, I'm a little bit of a Stilomaniac, so I never change my army list. Ever. In fact, I rarely change anything. And just take on whoever comes out. And he brought in his new Blood Angel army using the new Codex, and it had the closest thing to a Death Star unit that I think I've seen in 8th edition yet, apart from that Gilliman Citadel thing. Which was 12 Death Company with the Sanguinor, Mephiston, Lamates, and a Sanguinary Priest. And a Banner Bearer, one of the Sanguinary Guard Banner Bearers, which he put a relic on, which gave the Death Company a 5+ save. So they were +1 strength. They had like 5 attacks each, with a 5+ feel no pain kind of save. And he used Mephiston to give them a 5+ invulnerable save. It was just getting ridiculous. It's like fighting against a pack of raptors with a toothbrush or something. It was just ridiculous. I genuinely did not know how to deal with it. What I did try and do was I deep striked my Terminator assault. I baited them with a bike unit, which I thought would be tough enough to hold them for a turn, and they did. And then I brought down my Terminator squad, captain and librarian, and all three of them failed their charges, apart from, well, the librarian didn't, and then they just got countercharged and wiped. I was just gutted.
Yeah. Trouble
not
is,
even
that
sure.
9 inches is a long way, isn't it? Because you've got to be 9.
Well, you say that it's average rolling.
No, it isn't. 7 is average on 2 dice.
Oh, okay, yeah. But even then, I failed it. Which is a bit of a shame. Did come up against an interesting kind of rule thing, though. So, if you've got a captain, if you've got a character, and he is not the closest, because the closest is a unit in combat who you cannot shoot at, can you shoot at the character?
No.
No. Which didn't make a great deal of sense to me. But there we go. But I enjoyed that for the most part, apart from getting hammered again. So do you want to talk about some hobby resolutions?
Yeah, I think that would be cool. You start, because I'm just flicking through and double checking, because I said with such certainty about the character thing, and I'm pretty certain.
Well, we read the rule from the original rulebook and the new updated version of it, and it doesn't specifically say anything that would mean you could.
Yeah.
So it doesn't say anything like unless the unit is untargetable or something. In fact, in the new version of the rule, even if they are not visible, you can't shoot at the character. So
Yeah,
bit of a
you are right. Yeah, you can't. No.
So hobby resolutions. I think the game a week one is a common one between us.
Yeah.
Ben Curry from the Bad Dice podcast wants to do 100 in a year. I'm not sure I could manage 2 a week, but
I think you've got to remember though. So because Ben Chambers and I were discussing this. So if you take when we go to Warhammer World, so there's a mini kill team tournament on the Friday night. That's 3 games. And then the event itself is 5 games over the weekend.
Yeah.
So that's 8 games in one weekend.
That's very true.
And I know Ben Curry gets involved with events and stuff, so that's probably what he's thinking as well. But
so
I think a game a week is cool.
Yeah, I think so. And I need to do it. I played more games this year than I ever have done, frankly. More of my own games. I mean, we were playing multiple games a week as Games Workshop staff members, but it was more like herding cats, trying to get the kids to listen to the rules.
Yeah.
Or in fact, play the game in any way that was recognisable.
I've got a joint one with Harriet, so we're having each week. We're trying to have a board games night.
Oh yeah, that's cool. That's really cool.
There's a way to spend, to make sure we're spending some quality time together, because it is, with work and Joshua, it does get busy. And it's important to take stock and have some time together. And we both enjoy our board games, so that's what we're doing.
Cool.
Well, we did. We'll talk about Ticket to Ride later, but we played a bit of Ticket to Ride, which it's okay because there's no dice in Ticket to Ride, so I can cope with losing. We also played combat cards, and she got a draw against me in my first game of combat cards, my first ever game such a game, which I was embarrassed about until Mr. Chambers texted me earlier, Ben, to say that he played 2 games against his wife Tara and lost both. Ha!
I think I quite like that resolution. Actually, I might steal it. I might get Joe into Shadespire.
Yeah. Well, she's played some Shadespire. Oh no, she's played the other one. What's Silver Tower? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, she has. Yeah.
Yeah.
Painting wise, I really haven't I really liked the Evia Metal bingo sheet for painting.
Yes.
Because you could. We'll put this up on our show notes, guys. But it's lots of little challenges that are all completely different. Like paint a bust or paint an army, and the idea is to try and tick them off through the year. Because it would be very easy to just go, I'm going to paint for 15 minutes a day, or however many minutes you've got available. But I quite liked that because it encourages you to step outside of your comfort zone.
Yep, I think that is cool. It depends. Well, it's like everything, isn't it? Different things suit different people's hobby.
Yes. I think as a painting one, I think it's very good.
Yeah, definitely. If your thing is painting, then that is excellent. Really good. Really
I'm quite keen to do the bust, actually. I'd probably do that one, I think it's Black Star, the one that we posted on our website a couple of months ago, where the chap had done it in non-metal metallics. He's like a bold knight called Luther. Yes. I'd love to do that one.
Yeah.
I'd cry, because I'd never be able to get it as good as that one. So every time I'd be like, no, it's crap, wash it off. But no, that I think I'm going to try and do that, or a similar version to it. The heavier metal bingo thing.
Yeah. Good. That's cool. I liked, I saw one that was more of a painting log, and then down the bottom it had things you could tick off when you know, a bit like the quests, as it were, on the bingo things that you're talking about, where it's like enter a competition, or like one was like play a game with a fully painted army.
Yes.
Which was quite cool. So I like the idea of a painting log, because I think it's like it's a very motivational thing. So one of the things,
it would be cool to sort of look back and see how much you'd painted over the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons, like, I've got a little cabinety thing in the middle of the hobby zone set up, which has got the 2 Forge Fiends in, the 2 characters I painted, and then my Lord and Khan, because it's just great to have that inspiration of some painted miniatures, and then all the unpainted stuff is hidden away. I can't see it.
Yeah.
So just get out the plastic things each time.
The plastic mountain is a bit hard to overcome, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
I've got one more. I want to play in an Age of Sigmar tournament. And I'd very much like to try and keep up with the Malign Portents. And get involved with that, actually. As a real kind of really get into Age of Sigmar, because I love the models. I've done a fair bit of painting this year for the models, but I haven't really completely got to grips with the rules. I know the rules, but by get to grips with, I mean use them a lot and just be able to do it. So that for me is a big thing.
It's a shame, really, there isn't a grot start collecting, because I know you're keen to do them and expand them.
Well, I'm keen to do destruction, and having done the Shadespire orcs, I'm not too bothered if whether it's orcs and goblins, but I do like goblins, so, or grots, whatever the hell you want to call them.
Well, because they're doing this thing, aren't they, where I think between the 13th of January and maybe the 23rd of February or something, paint up a start collecting, and then you can either put pictures on the web, or you can take it into your local games workshop. And there's a chance to enter like painting competitions, and then what they'll do is announce the next thing that you need to paint up to grow that army. And the idea being that you go on this journey where you build up your army in time for when the campaign starts, which I really like. I think it's brilliant, like a worldwide tale of many gamers, if you will.
So, do you want to do it together?
Yeah, well, I'd love to do it together. That's what I was kind of getting at, because we were talking about it the other day, and I'd love to. I think it'd be brilliant.
I'd like to get involved with, get people on our page to get involved with it as well.
Yeah, it would be cool. So it would be cool. Actually do it as well this time, unlike the last time when I utterly failed.
Yeah, well, I gave up trying to keep up because you were just...
Well, I didn't even open a box set of the Zinch. I still don't have any. Lame. In fact, I ended up buying Nurgle instead, so...
Yep. So what would you go for?
Nurgle, Dark Collecting Demons.
Oh.
Don't at me.
Predictable.
Oh!
All right,
just
so...
like your response.
Well,
the new, we'll talk about it in Mortal Realms, but the new Maggotkin book, I have just been losing my hat over it. It's just awesome.
Have you got it?
No, but I've been reading.
It's not out yet, is it?
No, it's on pre-order.
Yeah, okay. I thought so. I thought you just confused me a bit. Cool. So we need to move on to 40k.
Hey. Which start collecting are you getting?
I'm almost certainly going to get the Auric one with the
Ironjaw's one.
Yes, the Ironjaw's one.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good. So, be really good if people on the page, as we say, or listeners, get involved as well. So let us know, please, what you're doing. We'll do some posts about it. Ben will do some posts about it, and then I'll be coerced until I do some stuff. So, yeah, that would be really good. Be really good to get involved, especially because we're hoping to go to a few events this year. So you never know. We might even bump into you guys and get some Malign Portent games in. At least you know, if you play me, that's one victory for you. So, guys, thank you very much for listening to the Hobby Desk. Ben and I genuinely going off now to get a hot drink before the next section.
So my shed is actually freezing.
Ben is whining.
The thermometer says 2 degrees.
Let's remember, Ben is a space wolf, and he's just moaning about a little bit of cold.
Yeah, I'm all right with that.
Yeah.
I'm all right with that. It's lucky my teeth aren't chattering.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, so guys, grab yourself some refreshments. Join us in the galaxy of war. They watched, they waited, and they are coming. The Custodians have arrived. We are in the galaxy of war. Ben?
Hello?
Excited?
About the Custodians? Oh, well, yes. Is the short answer to that question, yes.
Let's put it out there now, right? Firstly, do we think the level of hype was appropriate for what actually came out?
No.
No. But, secondly, are we still super excited that Custodians are out?
Yes.
Yes.
It took me a while, though. I think
know.
if they'd not said anything yesterday, and then dropped those Custodians on there, I'd have been running through Bodmin, holding a flag the shape of a jet bike, going, "Oh my God!" at the top of my lungs.
Yeah.
But today, I woke up genuinely expecting there to be something like a new race.
Yeah.
Totally.
It
It did take me a couple of watchings of the video to get over that a little bit. Which is a shame, I think. I think it's a shame.
I think for me, and I know we said this before the podcast, but for me, if we'd not seen any Custodians as miniatures at all up to this point, then I think that the hype and the way it was introduced would have been absolutely appropriate. Yeah. But that massive, huge news for Custodians has happened. It happened when...
In Dark Imperium, the book.
In Dark Imperium, really, from a 40k perspective, and actually before that, from a collector's perspective, it happened when they hit in 30k and you actually saw them get models.
Yeah.
So, and I know we'll talk about Malign Portents, obviously in Mortal Realms, but we also felt that the lead up to Malign Portents and what actually happened at the point the countdown timer got to 0 was again quite extreme. Certainly I did. I felt like we had a lot of the information that we then got already. But importantly, doesn't take away from the fact that Custodians in 40k, proper army as well. So additional units, they've got some flipping stunning looking models, haven't they?
Those jet bikes are just phenomenal.
Yeah. It's the spears. Oh, they're so good.
Yeah. But they better be badass.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. You said that to me.
I mean, I'm talking like 1,500 point army being like 15 models.
Yeah.
But I suppose we always used to say the same when I was a kid and reading the second edition book about Primarchs. We used to go, wouldn't it be cool if there were Primarchs in 40k? And then the conversation would go on a little bit, but eventually it would always come down to they'd be so powerful you couldn't actually have rules for them.
Yeah.
But actually they have got rules for them. They've kind of toned down the Primarch a little bit to make it playable in the game. Because it doesn't matter who you are really if you come up against a Primarch, unless you're like a greater demon. But even then, you'd have to be one hell of a greater demon to stand much of a chance, considering that Sanguinius was thrown around like toys.
Yeah.
Custodians are the same thing. we've been sort of fed this thing that if you went into the palace and you weren't supposed to be there, you got bitch slapped so hard your great-great-grandparents were crying. So, and I expect that from the Custodian army. I want those jet bikes to hit so hard that a Land Rover literally just falls to pieces into its individual component parts as soon as they hit it. I'm not joking. They probably won't, and that'll disappoint me a little bit, but the models certainly live up to the kind of legend of the Custodians. They look phenomenal.
Yeah, and to be honest, man, it would upset me a little bit if they aren't badass. It'll be little things as well that'll frustrate me, like if they aren't weapons, I'm sure they'll be weapon skill 5, just to be that bit better.
Yeah.
To show that they're better, or weapon skill 6 or whatever. But ultimately, it'd just be awesome to see them.
You mean 2+?
On the table. Oh yeah. Flipping heck. What has happened? That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is because I got my Heresy 7.1 rules, and not in any way because I just completely forgot what I was talking about.
No, they're going to be 2+, aren't they? 2+. It's whether or not they're strength and toughness 5. I think they might be.
I think they are, or they will be.
No, I'm excited.
I wonder if they'll get any plastic tanks.
Yes, I really hope so, because that Golden Land Raider is one of the most hideous things that Games Workshop has ever painted. It's absolutely horrible.
Yeah, it's not quite there, is it?
No, and I don't genuinely know how you could make it any better. There's just so much gold plate that it just doesn't work. But there we are.
No, it doesn't really. You could do with having more of it, maybe black.
Yeah, and red. That lovely deep red that they use in the 30k stuff. Yeah,
much like, actually, do you remember the old inquisitorial forces?
Well, yeah. Yeah.
And they had that, didn't they? Black and deep red. That was nice.
Initially, the Grey Knights were black and red.
Were they?
Yeah. The original Index Astartes. I'm looking at my shelf now. Let me pull them down.
What, from like 1762? When you started?
1760. Yeah, very good. Grey Knights. This one's got Space Wolves in, so it's going to be a good one.
I thought of you today because I was listening to the Horus Rising, the first Heresy novel.
Yeah.
Because in my quest to listen to everything ever, I've gone back to listen to the Heresy.
Yeah.
And there's a bit where Garviel Loken goes to find Cinnamon, and he finds him in a library, sat on a telescopic chair, which moves up and down and left and right to where he wants to be. And I just thought that, when you're like 80... that'll be like your Warhammer library.
If only.
You'll have like a little telescopic chair and be like...
So this was released 2002, and they're black and red in that. Well, actually, they're not even.
Really?
They're not even red. Yeah. So the shields have got the red on. They're pauldron shields, but their main armor color is black. Yeah. But at that point, you didn't even have metal models for them, though. So just goes to show how far we've come. Really, I think it's 2002.
Yeah.
I'll post a picture of that, obviously, in the show notes. But yeah, so black and red I think would look really good for that kind of tank. But going back to it, I am disappointed that it wasn't a Xenos race, but I do think we're going to see lots more Xenos. They're by no means finished. In fact, they feel like they're just warming up, frankly. But it's exciting times, so let's talk about something else. Let's talk about the one-eyed pigeon and his walking cremation pots. They're getting a book as well, aren't they?
I'm only going to talk to you if you're going to be sensible.
That was being perfectly sensible.
Yes, they are getting a book.
Which is cool.
And it's going to be amazing. So, they're going to bring some of the Zangor stuff across from AOS. So, I don't think there's going to be any new miniatures in there. Which is a shame because the Death Guard got so many. But then they didn't get updated during the 7th edition, whereas the Tzeentch did.
Yeah.
So, the Thousands of so like the
in fairness, the Death Guard hadn't had models for ages. So
yeah, absolutely. That's I agree. So, they're going to bring across a lot more of the Zangor, so that'd be cool. No, it'd be ace. I love the 1,000 Sun models, and to be honest, it was a massive toss-up between doing Tzeentch or Nurgle as my sort of 2018 or my next Chaos stage once the corner done.
Yeah.
And really, it was actually Maggotkin in AOS that sort of tipped the balance, I suppose. Well, actually, in a way, I think I'd made the decision just before that, and then it just happened to be that, and that just reinforced it.
You asked me which one I would recommend, and I said, for you, at the moment, and the way your state of mind is, Nurgle, because you can get the Nurgle models done using very fast techniques and and you'd feel happier with a better output. Whereas I think the 1,000 Suns / Tzeentch, they're a really challenging army to paint, and I'm not saying you wouldn't be able to smash it. I know you would, but you'd take a lot longer, and I think it would frustrate you. And I think
it would.
And I think what you need now, where you are in the hobby, is to just power out an army really quickly and feel good about that army. And then maybe tackle some of the more complicated models that aren't going to take a week, are going to take 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah. So one day, but at least they're coming, so that's good. That's good to see. That really only leaves, well, I say it only leaves. Obviously the big gap is Slanesh, so we've got, I think the Khorne Berserkers could do with their own book, frankly, but yeah, well, they might get one at some point.
I think I was wondering about this earlier. You know, they changed the rules for Smite.
Yeah.
Or they were thinking about changing the rules for Smite. They haven't actually, have they? They were thinking of it. I wonder if that's as a response of playtesting the 1,000 Suns. I wonder if they were like, okay, that's quite a lot of Smite. But there we go.
Quite possibly.
People won't moan when they're fighting the 1,000 Suns and they've got that new Smite rule in play. That's for sure they won't.
No.
So the Demon Codex is coming out very soon as well. That's quite exciting for you. I think it's a waste of paper, but
it is very exciting. I've been
but no, Dan, Chaos don't get any releases. They don't.
No, they don't. We need more Chaos stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So Chaos Demon Codex is going to be interesting to see what is in there. So obviously at the moment it's just Khorne for me, but it's going to be Nurgle as well, so it's going to be really cool to have that. I don't have loads to say on it. I mean, I've read the little blurbs, but everybody's read the little blurbs.
Yeah.
The book, I will have, to be honest, by the time this comes out, they won't have arrived quite that early, but it will arrive, at the end of next week. And I'll have more to say about it in the next one, but I am quite excited to see what stuff I get, and how it sort of ties together. I mean, stuff ties together really easily now because of the way the attachments work. So
I'm quite excited to see how your army is going to play once you have a mix of the resilient forces and your fast attack stuff, because that's a really good mix. Because people will.
What do you mean? A mix of Khorne and Nurgle?
Yeah. Because people will think, oh, the corner in my face, I need to do something about that. And if they focus on that, they'll very quickly have the Nurgle coming up behind them, and when they're that close, they're really hard to deal with because you haven't got those shots off that have thinned the units out. And vice versa. If they're concentrating their fire on the Nurgle, then the Khorne are going to be in their face like turn 1. And so I think you'll find that that's a very good combination. And I want to see how the Demon book sort of plays into that. That's what I'm interested to see.
Yes. Be interesting to have a look. I mean, it's a nice journey. I'm not sure how I'm going to approach the Nurgle. Well, I say I'm not sure. I do know because I've already started.
Airbrush, typhus corrosion.
I know. Yeah, painting is fine. I just more mean the army build. So with the Khorne, I built the army, based on what I thought would look cool, particularly with regards to ratios of like demons to mortals to Khorne Berserkers. And also I built it along the lines of the Khorne Demonkin Codex when that was around. And there was a few minimums that you had to have in there.
Yeah.
And I was quite happy with that in 7th. But in 8th, I found it's become, what I had for 7th was just completely, it's just not competitive at all. to the point where I was getting frustrated. And it's interesting because somebody commented, it was in an Age of Sigmar post that I'd put up, or you'd put up, sorry. And they were talking about wanting some new stuff for their army because they weren't a competitive player, but they didn't want to be going into every battle at a disadvantage.
Yes. Yeah.
And I totally got that. And that's where I have ended up with my corner. It's just not competing at all. And that has informed some of the decisions I've made. So my possessed now are gone. I've dispersed them through the Khorne Berserkers. Luckily, because I converted them from the Khorne Berserker and possessed kit, they really blend quite nicely. Yeah. And now I have 3 units of Khorne Berserkers.
Yeah, yeah.
Because possessed are just shocking. And if somebody wants to tell me differently, then that's fine. But my experience has been they've been shocking. The Hell Brutes are coming in. And it'll all still look cool. And I've still got loads of cultists to do. And it'll look good overall. But I think it's because where I'm trying to get is this massive chaos combined force to play big narrative games.
Yeah.
But to stay motivated, I want to play games, and I don't mind. I don't have an issue at all with losing a game, but this constant getting to turn 3 or 4, I'm just like, oh gosh, I want to have some impact.
Yeah, no, it's understandable.
Which is why I'm adding all these bits and pieces. So we'll see, we'll see how we go. I've got Winter Tides in
early
February, 4th of February. So we'll have another crack there. Tenebris is a little bit different because it's a narrative event. But yeah, so with the Nurgle, whether I think I'm just gonna paint stuff I like. I mean, I've got totally, as you'd expect from me, totally carried away, and I've got flipping demons coming out my ears and 3 sets of Dark Imperium where I've swapped and cajoled and bartered my way into extra sets of the Plague Marines. So I've got masses of the stuff to get on with, but I think really it's going to be February time before that gets started, because I do want to wrap up the Khorne. I'll always go back and add things, definitely. But it'd be nice to finish like the Land Raider and the Hell Brutes.
Yeah, definitely. And the Fly thing.
And the Hell Drake.
Yeah.
And the Demon Prince.
Yeah. So not much.
No.
So you managed to pick up the Heresy book. I don't think you've read it enough to make a comment on it, other than it's obviously gorgeous.
Oh yeah, I mean the production quality is very, very nice.
But we were going to have a little bit of a natter with regards to what our feelings are about the fact that they stayed with 7th.
Yeah.
So I think that it's a bit short-sighted, personally, for 2 reasons. I'm a lot less likely to play it now, because I've got so many sets of game rules in my head that I'm already starting to mix them up with each other. Mm-hmm. If I add in 7th as well, which I didn't really learn, if I add that into Shadespire, Necromunda, Blood Bowl, Age of Sigmar, 8th edition, the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
I can't be bothered to learn another set of rules, when really I didn't need to. I'm going to, because I've invested in 30k. I've got the 2 plastic box sets, and I was going to say I'm excited about doing a Space Wolf army. I wasn't until I saw the sneak peeks of the upgrade kits today, which look amazing compared to those Terminators. And that's all I'm going to say on it, because I will get really bitter. But yeah, that's my main reason, Dan. I just think it's a big thing to do, to learn a whole nother set of rules on top of all the other ones.
I'm just going to chuck this out there, because I know we're not going to dwell on it, but I did tag you in a post earlier where I saw some pictures from the open day of the new Space Wolf models.
You did.
And it's the first time that I looked at them and I was like, they're not quite as bad as I felt they were. So I'm not saying they're amazing, don't get me wrong, I'm not, but I was pleased that they weren't quite like I thought they were.
Well, the Varangian things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I at the moment, I'm so disappointed. It's hard to express into words without swearing, frankly.
I know. Well, I'm disappointed for you, but I'm looking forward to getting up. I'm hoping when we go to Warhammer World, there'll be some up there.
Yeah. I think if I was going to get them, it would involve probably 3 hours of the Dremel before I'd even got to a point where I was happy. Which is just such a shame. It really is. It's like you said, It feels like they've been done by a different company.
It is odd, isn't it? The difference between them and the upgrade kits. But it would be interesting to talk to the sculptor and get the thoughts. But anyway.
Yeah, the rules. So what's your thoughts?
Moving away from that. That's my fault. I took it back there. So, what do I think? I genuinely, I suppose I have my personal feeling and then my feeling from a sort of business point of view. So for what it's worth, my feeling from a businessy point of view is that I do agree with you in that I feel that it is a bit short-sighted because I think it may create a barrier in the longer run. I think it will create a bigger barrier to people moving across than what would happen in the short term by it moving across, if you get my drift. So
completely.
I don't think, so I think it is a bit short-sighted from that point of view. Because I just think it's an unnecessary complication for someone that wanted to move from 40k into exploring the 30,000 universe.
I mean,
to have to then learn a whole new set of rules, which are really quite dramatically different now.
And you're in a different situation in a way because you've played 7th. So
yeah, well, that's what. So bear in mind this. I'm completely talking about my feelings from a Games Workshop point of view, like from a company point of view at the moment. So I think it's as I say, it's an unnecessary complication. I think the game is quite different now. It's certainly a bigger jump than, like, for example, fantasy into 40k used to be. Much bigger. So yeah, from that point of view, I think it's a bit of a strange decision. With the exception of the fact, I suppose, that Forge World and Heresy has a very solid, very loyal fan base.
Yeah.
And I think perhaps that influenced the decision a bit, but I don't know. From my own personal point of view, I really don't care. I just don't mind what they've done because I don't play any war game particularly for the rules. That's not what motivates me to do it. I don't want a clunky set of rules, but I know a lot of the feeling was that 7th was clunky and unwieldy and too many books. I had none of that experience with 7th edition. I enjoyed it. I didn't play very much because where I was in my hobby at the time, I wasn't playing very much. And I do love 8th edition, and I love the way 8th works, and I love the way Age of Sigmar works. But when I get together with Tom and we crack out some 30k miniatures and play a game, I don't think, oh, this rule set, oh my goodness. I think, wow, look at these cool badass models kicking each other out around. So yeah. I just don't get it. I'm just not interested in this big kind of debate. Like, I saw some people being, really getting on their high horse when the book sold out, when 7.1 sold out, when Forge World released it and it sold out, and they were like, yeah, people saying Heresy's dead and the 8th is the new, well, they're wrong. And I just, what the hell? It's toy soldiers, guys. I play in the Heresy era because the Heresy era models are amazing.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that, and completely, I've said before, completely understand, we're all in different places, our hobby and what we can afford to spend on it, etc., etc. But I would not dream of using a Games Workshop plastic Rhino in my 30k army. Because that's not 30k for me. 30k is about the Demios pattern stuff and the older Land Raider marks and the reimagining of the Mark III armor and the Mark IV armor.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. I'm collecting an army of miniatures set in that background.
Yep. Yeah.
And the rules just let me rock up and play it. And I'm glad we've spoken about this because I just think it's mad. It's just madness. It doesn't really matter. Yeah. It just doesn't matter to me, mate. I'm pleased that Forge World have done a nice book for it. It looks really nice on the shelf because it's all like the same way it's turned out. The book's stunning inside. They've done some nice fast play sheets yet. Unfortunately, there is a little printing error on there, but I can get over that. Yeah, I could just keep repeating the same things, really.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter. I don't think, to be honest, I think if you didn't play Heresy because it was 7th and not 8th, I don't know if you could get to that place. Or I suppose I could say if you didn't collect Heresy because of that reason.
Yeah.
I think that would be really odd.
I'm always going to do a 30k Space Wolf army with the models. Whether I ever play an army or play with it or not is somewhat irrelevant. Anyway, in an effort to try and keep this podcast under 4 hours, so we are gassing on. Shall we move on to the Mortal Realms, fella?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. I'll see you on the other side, guys. No, said Petru, his eyes narrowing. Only life comes from this farm, not death. He put aside his ploughshare and accepted the scythe, his eyes stinging with tears, his handles like old friends to his toughened palms, his muscle memory making the heavy oaken tool light in his grip. He turned towards the column of bone men marching away to the east, charging out of the shack with a roar of defiance. There would be a new kind of harvest on this Van Harrow farm today. Dude, that story is awesome.
It's ace, isn't it? When you think, because we've been discussing what the realms are like, for Joe Blogs.
And how much it's 2 pages. And there's so much about what life is like in the Mortal Realms.
Yep.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So I'm desperate now for them to make 8 Lamentations into an audiobook, because I hear that that's got loads of that stuff in as well.
Well, I'm not being funny. I do agree with the chap who commented on your post today. You should probably learn to read by now.
Yeah, but you know exactly why I listen to audios, because I can't read.
Yeah. That story and the following one on the following page was an absolute hoot.
Yes.
Horticulous Slimux trying to chase humans across the field, and his slugs going so slowly that the humans are taunting him.
I showed someone
amazing
when I was playing Dan. No, I think I was playing Ben actually, but Dan was here, and there's a great little moment in the Monsters Inc. University film. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
When the little snail slug thing, I think it's a slug, is like, the bell goes and he's like, dang, I can't be late for school on my first day. And he goes, and he starts trying to run and he's like moving really slowly. It's just like that moment in there, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love
it. Absolutely.
Love it.
So, guys, we've spoke about this a little bit already, and we've spoke about what we thought it might be for a while now. Malign Portents is with us, and the build-up was really good.
You know the problem for me,
until we found out what it was.
The problem, I feel, is that we were given too much in the build-up, so there wasn't. I really think Games Workshop is a miniatures company, and it makes great games and all the rest. I'm not getting into the whole era where Games Workshop was like, we are only a miniatures company, but they make model soldiers. That is what they make, that people get really excited about. And they do great fiction as well, obviously. So, but when there's a massive hurrah, this is amazing, there should be a new miniature. And I know there are 4, but we've seen them, and they are lovely. They are lovely, really nice. But they should have, even if they had just kept those miniatures back until then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which surprised me. But that doesn't take away from how stupidly excited I am by Malign Portents and as I've said already, the Tale of Many Gamers, the sort of worldwide version. I think that's amazing. Really excited by that.
For me, that took a little while to chew over. I needed to read and reread the release information. I don't know about you, but it kind of came out and I was like, okay, it's a campaign. So what? We had one of those last year for 40k. It was okay, but what is different about this one? And it took me a while of reading over that release statement again and again to kind of start to get a feeling of why it was different. So, and I kind of summarised it into a few things. So, firstly, it has a book. So we're kind of in the territory of Storm of Chaos here, aren't we?
Yeah.
Which is easily the best campaign that I have ever seen. It's got characters. It's got stories that they're releasing pretty regularly on the website. So there's an actual kind of link to the developing story. But the key bit is that whatever happens is going to write the Age of Sigmar story. And I hope this is more than just like, I hope we're not going to be disappointed and it's going to be like the fall of Medusa, where Medusa fell and a grand total of nobody gave a crap. I hope it's going to be more like Storm of Chaos, where it was genuinely on the edge of your seat right until the last couple of weekends, where whether or not the good were actually going to beat the Storm of Chaos. I hope it's going to be like that. I really do. If it is, and they've been planning this for some months now. I mean, how you said the death model came out in September?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Or the sneak peek?
Yeah.
So that's a fair old kind of lead in. And there's a book, so they must have been planning this for a while. I think we haven't really seen the full extent of what this is going to be about.
Oh, I agree. And
I think that's a shame, because that build-up, I was expecting that countdown to come down, and there was going to be a box set, and there was going to be, pictures of new models, and we were going to find out all this amazing stuff. But what, in fact, we did get was all the information we already had, like you've said, sort of cleaned up, polished, and put on a website.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay.
It's just odd. Like, it doesn't. It's funny because it doesn't take away at all how awesome everything we have seen is. Like, it is really cool.
No.
It just seems like, both with this Malign Portents and with the 40k, you just got a bit carried away with the sort of the build up with what was at the end.
No. Did they get carried away? Or did we get carried away?
Well, yeah, but then I think, Games Workshop know full well the hobby is an emotional one. It's all about an emotional engagement. And if you do that sort of thing, people are going to become emotionally engaged, and excited by it. So, bit odd, bit strange. I wonder if they've had that feedback, what they think about it. Because obviously, when you're in Nottingham, I'm sure, it generates loads of excitement, but I just find it really odd that we've seen all the miniatures and stuff. It's very strange. But, there we go.
I'm dead excited about the book, because I think when we get the book, we're going to have a better understanding of what's going on. Do you want to do that? Do you want to do that viewer's question, listener's question? Because I think it's hilarious.
I think the community would be a good place to do that.
Okay, all right. So one of the things I'm excited about it, perhaps isn't because it is the Malign Portents. I suppose it could be anything. It's because it gives me a good structure to building my destruction army and then playing it in a campaign.
I love that structure thing. I think that's brilliant.
And I'm quite excited about that. But I think you could have called it anything.
I tell you what we haven't spoken about yet, which I really, really think is cool. The Knight of Shrouds is a soul that Sigmar tried to turn into a Stormcast, but couldn't.
Yeah, that does open up a few questions for me. So I always thought that it was one of the things that they were looking for, or he looked for in a soul, is purity. Yeah.
So maybe he went to do it and then he spotted something dark and not right.
So, yeah, maybe. I want to know what that big upside down pyramid's all about.
Well, I say as if it's definitely the case. I mean, I've taken that to be Nagash's Black Pyramid recreated, but upside down. From the Warhammer world.
Perhaps.
But there's so much going to come out about death. I mean, you've got Battletome Nagash that we're getting with 13 different Grand Alliances, I think. Not Grand Alliances, that's the overall. Alliances, allegiances. So that's pretty sweet. Lots in there. What I thought was quite interesting is the wording where they said contains the rules for all of the death models that there are so far, which I don't know if that implies there'll be new models in the book, or that you're going to buy the book and then very shortly the book isn't going to have all the rules for all the stuff you need in it.
I can't believe they'd do the second, mate. That would be so dumb. It would be...
Yeah, but then we'll have to see. We'll see. There'll be cool models anyway. Not that it matters to me anymore, because I have pledged my services to the jolly grandfather rather than death, so... It's cool that...
You were going to do a Death Army.
Yeah, I was really excited about it. It was totally going to be the thing I did this year for a long time. But I am...
The Lord of Rocks.
I have become completely corrupted. I just love chaos. There's just so much cool stuff I want to do for 40k, for Age of Sigmar. I just love it. I love it. And I love the idea of, like, a massive chaos army. And now that... some of the people I know that are gaming like this, Ben's going to be doing like a combined Imperial Force 40k, so that's going to be massive, and I can play massive games with that. And then Age of Sigmar, I just need to encourage some more people to collect huge armies for that. That's what it's about. I cannot wait, mate. I cannot wait till we can go to Warhammer World. I mean, goodness knows how we're going to do it, because normally Warhammer World usually goes for me. I get excited about going and playing a game. I get there. I get excited looking at stuff, all the miniatures. Then I go to Bugman's and eat something which is far too big and makes me feel ill. Then I go round the bloody exhibition. Then I go and sit in Bugman's and ruminate over a cold glass of Diet Coke. And then I go and buy something absurdly expensive that I don't need, and inevitably end up selling again about 6 months later. So one day I'm going to go and play a game.
Well, we owe... Sustained Fire a game, don't we? So we're both going to do the Malign Portents, the build your own army stuff. So you're going to do the Chaos Nurgle.
I'm doing Nurgle, yeah.
And I'm going to do Destruction. And because for lack of a decent Grotz getting started box, although there is the Forest Goblins one, the Spider Fang Goblins one.
Oh, the mini one.
I don't know if that would count.
I don't know.
The problem is with that, I have a lot of the Spider Riders anyway.
Yeah, no, don't do that. Get the Iron Jaws one.
Yeah, because I love the big ball boy ones.
Wow, and also it's ridiculous. They're £48 for the box set of 3 of them, or £50, and you get 3 of them, a War Chanter, and a load of those other dudes.
Problem is, I have a load of those other dudes anyway.
I know you do. It is a shame, really, isn't it?
But there we go. I mean, it is what it is. I will get one of those and work my way through it. That's going to be my sort of goal for the first 3 months of this, or 4 months of this year, is to get a decent-sized Age of Sigmar army up and be playing it.
Yeah.
I know, sneak in a squad of Space Wolves every now and again. At some point, I am going to need to rebase my Iron Snakes, but I genuinely cannot muster the shits to do that. I cannot.
By the way, we haven't actually spoken about the fact there's an entire new battle tome for Nurgle coming out.
I've been trying to dodge it. If I'm being honest, I have genuinely been trying to dodge it. Go on then.
Really?
Talk about Maggotkin.
Maggotkin is coming. Do you know what's most exciting about Maggotkin?
It's got a filthy name.
Before I knew it was coming out, I bought Blight War to get the Daemons.
Yeah.
And to get Horticulous Slimex. And in Blight War is this cool wheel, which is about 5 inches diameter. And it's like a cardboard, the thick cardboard stuff.
Yeah.
And it's the Wheel of Corruption.
Yeah.
And you turn it, and each turn you turn it one. And I was reading about it as an allegiance ability, and I said to Dan, do you reckon that this is usable in matched play? And we were like, well, I think so. And then Maggotkin came out, and that is their allegiance ability. I was so excited, because you know what I'm like with me tokens and dials.
Yeah, but yes.
I need a bigger box for my tokens and dials. They got carried away, mate. It's ridiculous.
That idea is a really nice idea.
It's an amazing idea. So that was very exciting. The book looks stunning, so that's on the way.
Not the Blight Wars book. I think you're talking about the Maggotkin book.
Maggotkin book, yeah.
Yeah.
Incidentally, then I have now got hard copies of all the books that for the armies I own.
That's because you're fickle.
That I'd gotten rid of.
You couldn't make up your mind if someone put a gun against your head.
Fickle or an idiot, both of which are completely apt. So, the models. Oh, that great unclean one is flipping huge.
It is, and there are some details on that I am just utterly in love with. My particular favourite bit is the floppy wound on his right bicep. This is going to sound very strange, but they've got the fat layer on that perfectly. The kind of anatomical layers of the skin just look fantastic. That's the medical side of me coming out, but especially when they've painted it with like the pale yellow. Great. Absolutely
not
great.
Gonna lie, the best model range currently out is the Nurglings. There are so many fantastic
that little Nurgling prancing around on the base of the
Sloppity Bilepiper.
Love it.
It's great, isn't it? You need to, I'll tell you what it needs is a little sculpted tutu, and it would be brilliant. And then there's the one that's like a hero that's on the base of the Great Unclean One. And then there's one riding on a little fly. It's just brilliant. It's just so good. It's so the cartoony joviality of Nurgle. I just love it.
Have you seen in the New White Dwarf there is a little section called the Procession of Nurglings?
Yes, yeah.
That's amazing.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah. And the beasts of Nurgle, they look...
See, now they're interesting because... And we don't often get into price because of the thing about, I've always said, certainly, it's all what you feel the value of the product to you for getting it.
Yeah.
But the Beast of Nurgle is an interesting one because it's £25.
For one?
For one. And I get the impression that
surprises me.
You need quite a few. And it's... don't get me wrong, the prices are always... It's not a cheap hobby, period, but generally I've not found that it happens often where something that you need quite a few of is really, it seems so it just seems out of line with the price, I suppose. Mind you, I say that, but then you look at like the unit, it used to be like £35 for 10 witch elves and you need like 50 of them, so. But anyway... the Beast of Nurgle, I think one or two look cool. I think, unfortunately, and this often happens with the creatures, the sculpt is such that the posability is very limited.
Yes,
so although there are separate, like, flippers and a separate head, it's almost not worth bothering with separate flippers and head if the body is going to be rigid.
I think they'd have been better served making the box set £30, having two in there, and the body, two different bodies.
Yeah, I agree.
Because actually, when you look at the big pictures of the Nurgle army, they look the same. As in,
I agree.
Can see that they look the same. So it's a bit of a shame. The tree is hilarious. It's hilarious. I mean, yeah.
It does do... It looks like it needs a bit of attention from a gynecologist.
It's a toothed vagina. Let's not beat around the bush.
I was trying to avoid it.
It is horrific.
It is, yeah.
With
it
three
is
random eyes. Mental.
Yeah. So, I definitely want a forest of them.
It's like a man.
If only, really, I only want a forest of them because Dan collects wanderers and he's all like, I want to hug the trees. And I'm going to be like, the tree's going to bite you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a nice release. I really like a lot of the models that they've done, and I like the way they've painted them as well.
Yeah.
Particularly the Sloppity Blowpiper. Who is writing these names? They need an award. Go out and vote for this guy for the hobby hero, because Sloppity Blowpiper, Horticulus Slimux. I mean, what is going on? It's
Horticulus and Mulch is just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And I just think they're so Warhammer. It's just fantastic.
Yeah.
The Sloppity Bilepiper is a plague bearer who's been infested with like the comedy virus or something. It's not called the comedy virus. I can't remember what it's called, but it's just excellent because the one with the big nose.
Yeah.
What's the one with the big nose called, dude?
The Spoilpox Scrivener.
Yes. So he like monitors their output of them, and if they aren't doing very well, he's like, you get infected with the chortling murrain, it's called. And so then they get infected by that, and then they just become really jovial and crazy until eventually they lose their wit and they become the gut pipes and the marotier of the next Sloppity Bar Piper. It's just madness. It is just madness. So yeah, it's an
excellent release.
It is an excellent release.
And there's a nice spread of models across it, from the big to the small as well.
Yeah. It's lovely to see a range really expanded, isn't it? Like, because you had the Blight Kings, and you had Gutrot Spoon, and the King guy. And that was it. And to see a range go whoom, and really...
Yeah.
But boost out into a really big, quite a big army in one release block is excellent.
Yeah, I'm very. It's very like encouraging to see something like that because I now actually can't wait to see what they do with the other ones.
Yeah.
And every new release because let's be absolutely fair, they've only really given Nurgle 6 months worth of attention, and the army has quadrupled.
Yeah,
and that's at the same time as doing other ranges too. If they can do that,
oh yeah.
The thing about Chaos is it's very easy, both as a person playing the army and making it, to increase the size of your armies for both 40k and Age of Sigmar at the same time because of the demons, because they cross over between both. You can get quite a lot of output quite quickly.
And from a painting perspective, I really love that.
Yeah. So, I'm afraid, dude, that we're going to have to leave the warm embrace of Nurgle.
Quick to the realm gate.
And move into the community section, if that's all right.
We haven't even talked about how close the pod is getting to whichever planet we're after today. I think we should go after Murder, and that's only because I'm listening to the Heresy novel, and they're currently on Murder fighting the Megarachnids.
Yeah, why not?
We'll take them down. We'll have them.
Yeah.
Come on, you bloody insects. Right on. Guys, grab some refreshment and join us as we hail to the community. Hail, fellows of the community. Thank you for staying with us all the way to this section. So,
we have been gassing on.
We have been chatting, haven't we? If people have made it all the way through, they deserve to be mentioned in the community. So firstly, hail to those of you who've survived episode 15 all the way to this point.
This is why we shouldn't take a break, because if we take a break, we can just ramble on for hours.
Wow, there's just a lot going on at the moment, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's awesome. So, community. So one of the things that I have done while I have been painting away is listen to episode 4 of the Pro Painted podcast. So we wanted to give a bit of a shout out to these guys. They were kind enough to shout out about us, which is very nice of them. So important to return the favour. But equally, though, not just because they did a shout out, but I went, had a listen, and actually really, really good stuff, Ben.
Yeah, I've listened to them. I've listened to them all the way through, actually, since they started.
Oh, cool. Well, it's Matt, Rob, and Ian. In the one I listened to, Ian wasn't available. But they were talking a lot about sculpting in episode 4, and there was some really good stuff in there. And certainly Rob, I got the impression.
It's probably worth, sorry to interrupt, Dan, but it's probably worth sort of laying out what the podcast is about. So it is a hobby-orientated podcast, and by hobby, I mean it's like a much better version of our On the Hobby Desk, but for 2.5 hours.
Yes.
So if they talk about a game, it's essentially in the context of looking what the models were in that game rather than the actual game itself. And I found it very, very useful and very, very interesting. The three guys are very good hobbyists, and I recommend that you go down to their website and have a look at their stuff because they're phenomenal. And I'll hand over back to Dan now. So sorry to interrupt. I hate doing that. But...
No, that's all right, man. I was just going to say, certainly Rob sounds like he's doing some incredible conversions. He's talking about what he's doing for Be'lakor.
Yeah.
Creating his own Be'lakor. Oh my goodness.
He's been wanting to do one for each of the Chaos Gods.
Yeah. What, a Be'lakor?
No, a conversion for like yeah. Because he's doing much the same as what you're doing, having like a big Chaos army.
What I loved is he's doing Be'lakor imagined as the Lord of the End Times.
Yeah.
And then he's doing he wants to do Archaon, but as a Stormcast, as a good guy.
Really?
I think that's an amazing concept.
Yeah.
Really like that.
I missed that bit.
Yeah, I just thought that sounded fantastic. Really, really good. And it's interesting because, again, the guys are talking about how to juggle things like real life and events.
Yeah.
I think Matt said he had to be a bit more grown up about it this year, which I loved. I thought that was brilliant. That just felt like it summed me up really, and my approach of needing to be a bit more grown up about things and not just being like, every weekend is a hobby weekend and everything else must work around me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I loved that. I thought that was brilliant. So there are only four episodes in. But clearly, guys that are well known in the community, they've got a really good following, and are really keen for people to drive the podcast as well. So one of the things I thought was quite cool is they said, if there's a particular miniature you'd like to know more about painting or you'd like to see them paint, just buy it, send it to them, they'll paint it up and they'll talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah.
I thought that was quite a cool idea.
Yeah.
Because they are clearly very talented hobbyists. I mean, you don't want to be buying models and sending them to me to paint. Or writing an army list and sending it to me to try out for you. Don't be doing that, you crazy fools. But with these guys, because they're good, it's quite cool, I thought.
Yeah.
People can buy stuff and send it to you to paint. You're very good, although you'll say you're not, because you're modest like that.
Yeah, I have my moments, but I don't think I'm consistently good. I get really frustrated sometimes because I'll pull out a face as an example, and I'll get it absolutely perfect or as good as I could possibly do it. And I'm like, yes, brilliant. And then I'll go to do another one and I will mess it up so badly. I'll have to tear the flipping thing off the model and put a new one on. That's
a bit about how the gods feel.
Yeah. I'm not that bad all the time, but I do sometimes feel that one of the things I think I suffer from is because I've taken so many hobby gaps, and they've been big hobby gaps, I've lost some things that I learnt. So, and not necessarily the actual technique of how to do it, but the confidence of how to do it, or I suppose the muscle memory of how to do it. And I'm looking at some of my Iron Snakes now, and I'm thinking, I haven't really gotten any better because, in a way, and it's been so many years, and I think that's a shame. I do think that's a shame.
But that's where I think that going along, like when you were talking to Tommy about going and spending some time with him, and we were talking about going to the heavy metal class and stuff.
Yeah.
That's the stuff. Because if you will only get better if, to a degree anyway, like just painting more will get you better.
Yeah, yeah.
But only to a point, and then it's about learning new techniques.
Well, what I think is also important is stepping outside of your comfort zone, and having a very clear idea of what you want to achieve, and then working to do that, even if it's outside of your comfort zone. So, for me, batch painting 50 goblins, I did that because I wanted to get my teeth into doing larger units again. Because I was becoming every Space Wolf model I was painting, I was becoming more and more, obsessed with, every tiny little detail. And I was never going to get my armies painting like that. So I think going outside of your comfort zone. So there's a great painter called Will. I forget his second name. He's on Instagram as Will Paints. He's been painting for 7 months, and his model, the quality of his models is very high. And he's doing techniques that I've put off doing, and I'm not really sure why. It's not that I'm scared of them at all. I keep putting them off. I can't even tell you why I'm putting them off. But he's gone and done a non-metal metallic Guilliman, and it looks stunning. And I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, why haven't I sat down and done it? I sat and talked to Tommy for 3 hours about it. I should have gone home then and picked up a damn model and done it. I've watched the Painting Buddha video on how they did that Stormcast model. Done all of those things, so why haven't I done it? But it's interesting listening to these guys because they kind of pick that stuff apart, and they talk about techniques and little hints about how they do things. And it's especially useful when you're listening to their podcast to have their website up so you can see the models that they're talking about. But one of the things that they're very good at when they're talking about armies is talking about, especially in the first 2 podcasts, I got a real sense about army painting and the things that I don't think of. And do you remember I said to you when we went up to Autumn Tides, I don't think my Iron Snakes will ever win a competition painting wise because they don't stand out. I don't think my style of painting stands out. I don't use very vibrant colours. I try and make them all look not realistic because I'm not that good, but realistic tones, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So they don't, jump off the table and grab anybody, which I'm quite happy with. Because they're one of those. They're a bit like you have to get closer to see what I've done, that kind of stuff, and I'm happy with that. But it's interesting.
Well, maybe as a sort of challenge, you could do something like when you do your Blood Bowl, when you do your goblins, go for more of a standing out.
I'm going to, yeah. I really want to do the Blood Bowl team in a really punchy kind of hilarious way. So lots of bright colours that I would never think to choose.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pro painted guys, honestly, if you're into painting and you even remotely like our hobby desk section, if you want to hear someone do it properly, then pro painted is the way to go.
So I have a cool hobby announcement, by the way, a community announcement, Ben.
Yeah.
That I've just found out. So your wonderful wife has just confirmed that you are in fact free on the weekend of Warhammer Fest.
Oh, cool.
So isn't that good?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's hilarious that you've asked Joe whether I can do that while we're sat here doing the podcast, rather than just ask me.
I think it says everything.
In fairness, if you'd have asked me, I'd have told you to ask.
I know you would have. You've got to go to the right person straight away.
Cool, that's
before
cool.
I get too excited. So that's good, isn't it?
Yeah, totes. Oh, I can't believe I just said totes.
You just said totes and recorded it. So we had a question, didn't we, from the community?
I think it's the best question that we've had.
So the question was this. Why is Ben very well spoken and actually in Cornwall, but I sound like an extra from the Pirates of Penzance and live all the way up country? That was a classic response to us asking questions. Mr. Wosley, that was.
Yeah.
Unsurprisingly. I think it's all about compensating. I pine for the homeland. And so that, allow the accent to take hold. And I talk to my dad regularly, and he has a fairly strong Cornish accent.
He does and all.
And as for you being well spoken, well,
I don't know what he's talking about.
No, I think that's what that is in counterpoint to your appearance, which is somewhat dishevelled. The number of those bloody Facebook things of cats that look like your hairstyle is just fantastic. That one recently of that fluffy beast, that's like when I get up in the morning, I was like, flipping heck, it's just exactly like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's compensating.
Well,
that's what I would say.
I can't be asked to get my hair cut. That's what it comes down to. It's as simple as that.
That's fair. Yeah, you can't. Besides which, you're like part Viking, so you can't be doing that.
Anyway, so another person we'd like to give a shout out to is a friend of mine that I met in the Bodmin Club called Ian Henderson.
The Bodmin Club is a wargaming club, by the way, not like some kind of weird.
Yeah, I think people got that.
Well, in my head, it was something different.
You're the one who joins strange cults and paints yourself in red and runs around pretending to be corn berserkers.
Anybody that's joined the podcast like after that episode will actually be worried at this point.
So Ian Henderson, otherwise known as Hendy Badger, he runs a page called The Tales of the Tabletop Skirmisher. And that page is extremely good at staying on the pulse of wargaming in general. You probably get the majority of my news about non-Games Workshop stuff from Ian Henderson's page. He's a really nice guy as well, and really interactive. So if you haven't already, it's well worth signing up to Tales of the Tabletop Skirmisher, because it's a great page, and it's very good for keeping you up to date. His particular theme of interest is Necromunda. At the moment,
he's got that awesome table, hasn't he?
He's got a phenomenal table, absolutely phenomenal. There's so much stuff. I can't even mentally face the concept of cleaning up that many Mechanicum sector buildings and take. I think I would just fall in a heap at the thought of it. But he's done it. He's painted it. It looks great. So well worth signing up to that. So. Yeah, two big recommendations there, and we can't speak highly enough of either of them, really, at the moment. And I think with that, we shall move on to...
Seems a fine point to head out into the wilds, does it not?
Yeah, having talked about a guy who gives us most of our information about the wilds. He's like the tracker for the wilds. Hendy Badger, the wilds tracker.
Right, and on that note, guys, we're almost there. The marathon is almost over. You've done very well. We are soon to make Planet 4. Grab the final bit of refreshment and we will be back with you soon.
Hi guys, welcome back to the final section, Into the Wilds, where we talk about all the other stuff that we can't really shoehorn into one of the other sections. So we're going to talk about two things, as Dan said in the intro. The first one is a board game called Ticket to Ride, which is probably not something that many people haven't heard of by now. It's an incredibly successful game.
It's massive, isn't it? It's won loads of awards and things.
It has, and I'm genuinely not surprised, actually. So Joe's brother used to play it a lot and got really into it, and I didn't really. So I'm going to make you laugh now, but I'm not a big fan of board games, like Monopoly and things like that. I don't know why. I think it's because I'd rather be doing something else.
Yeah, it's
not that I have a huge issue with them. But I've over the last sort of 2 to 3 years, I've started to like them, started to give them a bit more time. And I suppose it's got a lot to do with the fact that board games are a bigger thing now. And they're starting to make board games about stuff that I actually care about. So when my family at Christmas would say, "Oh, do you want to play a game?" I'd be like, "Oh, yeah, okay. To keep the peace, I'll play a game." Really, in my head, I'd be like, if it's Shadespire, or if that board game is, Hero Quest, then I'm in. But if it's not, then I'm not. But now I've it kind of started when you gave me, Cornish Smuggler.
Yeah. So,
Ticket to Ride is essentially a game about, it's a bit like Railroad Tycoon, if you ever played that on the PC, where the goal is to build routes across originally America, but there's a European version, and there's even a British version, if you're that sad.
I've got that, you.
And
It is brilliant.
it's very good. And my wife is a backhanding, spiteful train operator, if ever there was one. Because essentially the idea is you can build routes to block other people and force them to build a station, which costs them extra points. So it's quite tactical. I tend to do stupid things like just build the massive tunnel as soon as I can, even if it's nowhere near where I am, because it gives you a load of points. But yeah, you play it quite a lot, don't you?
Yeah, Harriet and I love it. But Harriet isn't backhanded and conniving with her railroading, and neither am I, because if I am, she gets upset. So, not upset, like really upset, but just in that kind of, you don't want to upset your wife in that way kind of upset.
Well, it's not just my wife. My mother is even worse.
So, if I build, if I try and build a route to cut off Harriet's route, it's not worth it, man. I can't be dealing with it. So I don't. So we have quite a civilized approach when we're playing. Which
isn't the point at all.
Sorry?
Which isn't the point at all.
No, but we enjoy ourselves. It's great. It's a great game. And actually, the despite being sad enough to have the UK version, it's got some cool little expansions in it, like technologies. So you can purchase technologies, which allow you to do different things. So that's quite cool.
Yeah.
It's a great game, and it's very simple. That's what I like.
Yeah, it is.
The rules are on 2 pages?
Yeah. Mostly.
So that's good.
A bit like 8th edition. So
yeah, I love
it. Age of Sigmar of board games.
Yeah.
Rules on 2 pages. Done.
Yeah, it's good.
So yeah, that gets a hearty recommendation from me, having just played it over Christmas.
And me, I love it.
And enjoyed playing it over Christmas.
Yeah.
Rather than just suffered it.
Burned your copy of Monopoly.
Oh, Monopoly. Hell's bells. It's probably... Oh, I don't even know how to pull it. I don't know how it's done as well as it has. It's so dull and long.
Just by being the first, you know?
Yeah, true enough. My brother, he's going to hate me. I hope he doesn't listen to this. My brother got such a strop when we were kids playing Monopoly, when we were camping, in one, those, the family size tents, that he stormed off into his little kind of tent cubicle and even tried to slam the tent cubicle door, which was so funny. I wish I'd had a mobile phone to film it, because it would have been an instant YouTube success. It's probably those experiences that put me off board games.
Slamming of the tent flap.
So cross.
Brilliant.
And it didn't help that we were wetting ourselves laughing watching it.
So Ben, you also wanted to talk about, you've spotted a new game by Mantic, Hellboy.
Yeah, it's a board game.
It's quite cool because Mantic have been picking up a few licenses lately. They did Walking Dead, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I'm certainly more interested in that side of it than of what they're doing than the bigger games like Kings of War. I've no much interest in that, to be honest. Mainly, I suppose, because I don't need another fantasy game. I've already got one to take up enough of my time.
Yeah.
But these kind of small buy-ins, like the Walking Dead, and they've got some great models for Walking Dead. And this, it's interesting. And, I was a big fan of the film, and I'm looking forward to the new one. I don't know much about Hellboy, but I like the images, the kind of theme of it, the images of it, the design. So I'm quite excited about it, just to see what it's like, if nothing else for the models. Because Hellboy in a model is going to be cool.
Yeah.
If nothing else. But we don't have much information on it at the moment.
No, doing it through Kickstarter, aren't they, in April?
Yep. I don't know a great deal more than that, other than it was on their blog and they talk about it there. So they've got the license from Dark Horse Comics.
Yeah.
And most of the rest of the kind of release is talking about them as a company, which doesn't... It's one of those releases which is giving you some information, but not much.
Yeah.
But filled out in a page full of text. So I think it's going to be really cool. I think they hit the nail on the head with the sentence, Hellboy has a great cast of characters, diverse locations, and legendary monsters from the pages of folklore and myth. I think that's exactly what I'm excited about. So looking forward to it.
Yeah.
But in fairness, dude, we've got some stuff coming up soon. So we got the Fallout game is not far off.
Well, I had all that excitement about Star Trek where I nearly lost it, didn't I? But I still haven't managed to play it. I tried. I set up a group on Facebook and was like, right, when are people available? And that went so well that I was like, right, well, I'm not bothering then.
To do a Star Trek role-playing group?
Yeah.
I've been watching the original series over Christmas.
It's just really tough. Like, I know everybody knows this, but it's just really tough when you're grown up trying to get anything regular organised.
Oh, so hard. It's ridiculous.
It's just mad. There's always bloody something.
I mean, it is really, really hard. You've almost got to be brutal about it and say, this is the night I'm going to be doing it. If anyone wants to come along, you do it. But you can't do that with roleplay. You need to have regular people, and a decent number of them. So it is really tough.
Yeah.
I think it takes about 2 weeks in our role-playing group just to find a date for the next role-playing session.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
Absolutely.
But there we go. So yeah, some exciting stuff in the greater world. And that's not even to mention the fact that TT Combat have just gone utterly mental with the amount of products that they're releasing. The scenery stuff they're doing for Drop Zone, and they're starting to release the stuff for Fallout now. Yeah, loads of exciting stuff. It's an exciting time to be in the hobby.
Very exciting. There's so much going on. Well, yeah, it's difficult to know what to turn on next, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, and I do feel that in this section, it does come. We do a bit of a kind of a news announcement. Don't we? Yeah. It's like, look at all this cool stuff that we will not have time to do.
Maybe that should be one of our resolutions, dude. That we should play
choose another thing and do it.
Yeah, I suppose it would need to be a miniatures game, really, wouldn't it?
For me, if it's going to be something, it's going to be Fallout, fella.
Yeah, that's true.
Every day of the week and twice on Sunday, because that universe is just so good and so well developed, and the models look fantastic. So yeah, if you're interested in collecting a little set and playing that, I'm all for it.
It does look very good, doesn't it?
Yeah,
very good indeed.
And of course, we've got the Star Wars game coming out as well this year. Which I'm desperately trying to avoid every contact. If I see it on the page, I will move away from the page, because between that, Blood and Plunder and Fallout, I'm not going to get any of my current models painted if I keep buying new ones.
No. And on that, incredible bombshell.
That's just the theme of our hobby, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Well, awesome.
Thank you very much. What a good evening. Nice to chat to you.
Yeah, as always, at the 2P's podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Same one for all three. Send us messages, ask us questions. We do this for the love of it, guys. So, anything you want to shove our way to have a look at or talk about, we will talk about it on the podcast, because there is some amazing stuff going on in the community. And we're kind of here to support the community. And is that the right way of putting it?
Yeah, we were talking about this before we started recording, and ultimately we do this because we love the hobby, we love sharing the hobby, and we'd love to see other people get the same levels of enjoyment out of the hobby as we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if we can help people do that in any way, we'd love to.
Give us a shout.
Inspire people or motivate people or make people think, bloody heck, I'm not going to do it the way they do it. Warn people off. Then, yeah, we'd love to do that. We do the hobby because we love it, really, don't we, man? There's nothing better than seeing people getting excited about the hobby and enjoying it. So yeah, That's why we do it, and we'd love you to be part of it. And thank you for listening.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see you next time. We're not going to have an extended period. We're back to every 2 weeks on Wednesday. So look out for us then. And if you want us to talk about anything, then just throw us a message, and we will do it.
Absolutely.
Obviously, the more information you give us, the easier that will be.
Absolutely. Well then, guys, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us, and we will be back in 2 weeks' time.